A week ago, the market was gripped with fears of inflation as Treasury yields were rising. And now this week, you got weaker than expected reports on CPI and PPI. People are again worried about deflation. Our guest today, Charles Nenner of the Charles Nenner Research Center, formerly of Goldman Sachs. Back in late 2007, you said deflation was going to be the problem.
Correct.
And is that still your forecast for the near future?
That's still, I called it a deflation scare before the whole inflation cycle starts. There's something that people forgot about is Kondratyev cycle. It's the longest inflation-deflation cycle. It's based actually on farm products, and they say, well, these days we have service industry, so maybe it doesn't work anymore. And I would say I work with any cycle that continues to work until it doesn't work anymore. So I said we're going to have a deflation scare. It's not over yet. It's going to be the rest of the year. But you will see inflation after that. So it is a scare.
It's a scare, right? Because obviously right now, we do have oil prices that have risen dramatically from the lows. Gold has sort of gone sideways. So people have gotten very big bets on commodities here. Are they going to... Are they due for a little bit of pain on that trade right now?
Yeah, but you should understand one of the leaders in commodities was the copper price, and I work a lot with the Chinese. And what the Chinese are very clever. I remember in the beginning of the 90s, European banks were selling a third of their gold. Maybe you remember that.
Yep.
And the Chinese were buying it, and they made a lot of money on it. And now the Chinese, they have official agencies that have to store up and speculate a little bit, and they have been buying copper like crazy. And now that the cycle tops, they think it's too high and they're not buying anymore. So the Chinese need some copper, but most of it was just to make money and to speculate on it. Yeah.
Right. So talk more about the cycle. I mean, what happens? We have deflation for this year. We get into inflation next year. We're going to go to hyperinflation. What do these cycles look like?
No, these cycles look like inflation will start picking up in a year and a half, and will go up for the next 30 years.
Next 30 years?
Next 30 years.
To 10, 20%? I mean, is it?
I haven't looked at that.
Are we looking at Zimbabwe and the Weimar Republic kind of inflation? Because there are people who are genuinely worried about that given the level of deficits that we have here in this country.
Well, the reason is not, I usually deal with what's going to happen, and in a secondary I deal with why it's going to happen. But if you look at the last 500 years, and there are data like that of inflation, deflation, you see a very clear cycle every 30 years. And I'm not sure how high it will go. I also do, I don't want to worry you, I do cycles on war and peace, and I see that a lot of trouble is coming. So I don't know if we go into major wars, if it's going to lead to inflation, deflation. We have to wait for that one.
Interesting. So well, both those things it would speak to having a position in gold will be a good thing.
Right.
And so even if you think gold maybe is in for a lull here, would you be buying on
Yeah,
weakness?
we're buying on weakness. We're buying gold stocks because in my work I see that gold stocks are too cheap compared to bullion. And in the meantime, while you wait, you get a nice dividend. And it's a matter of 6-7 weeks, and then we should pick up.
Any particular names that you like here?
Doesn't matter. There's not such a big difference. You want to look for gold companies that don't hedge. If they hedge and it goes up, then they don't make as much. But even Newmont Mining took off the hedge. I think nobody's hedged anymore on gold stocks.
Right.
Now, what about the dollar?
Dollar's interesting. The dollar made especially the euro made the move that we expected to 140. Cycles are topping in a week, and we expecting to go short the dollar in a week. Sorry, to go short the euro.
Short the
in a
euro,
week.
because I was thinking if we're going to hit a deflationary
definitely.
cycle here, the dollar would presume.
Yeah. So
would
probably
benefit
that's why
from
gold has to wait. So I see a stronger dollar for a couple of months, but only for a couple of months.
And if we go into this hyperinflation cycle or just the 30-year inflation cycle, does the dollar get destroyed, or is every currency going to get destroyed?
You see, the problem with the currencies, you can't say which currency is good. They're all bad. Just one is not as bad as the other one. So everything is relative. For instance, the euro was strong, but the euro economy is much worse than the U.S. economy. So it's just relative which one is going to do less bad than the other one. And that has to be monitored all the time.
Right, and so what's your forecast for Treasury yields? Because I would think if inflation is going to pick up for that long a time, we've had a huge, long, secular decline in Treasury yields. You're saying that that's ended or about to end, and they're going to start rising. How high do you think
I
they go?
bought this time a quarterly cycle chart. I don't know if you have time to show it later. It was sent out to my customer 3 months ago when we were at the low of the yields. And it says from now on, yields are going up into April 2013. Very short term, there could be a sideways action for a couple of weeks, 2 months, but yields are going up into April 2013.
And how high do you think they go?
I thought that the 10-year can go to 5.5%.
5.5%?
Yeah. So the interesting thing is last year everybody was worried about $70 crude oil killing the economy and high interest rates, and now nobody's talking about it. It's a very funny situation.
So do you think that rising oil prices and higher yields are going to kill whatever recovery we may be having?
Of course, it's impossible.
At 70, or does it have to go to 100 to kill it?
75 is that's what I wrote about, 75. We're in now for correction, so we're just not going to hit that, but later we go, it's going to, one wrong thing in Iran or whatever, who knows what's going to happen.
Right.